Thank you for joining us for a suicide prevention presentation brought to you by CalTAP, CalVet, and presented by Swords to Plowshares. Veteran suicide rates are far too high. They're nearly double that of the civilian population. But suicide can be prevented, and you can help. Recognize early warning signs in yourself and in your peers. Preventing suicide starts with knowing the risk factors, the warning signs, and the resources to prevent suicide. If you're a veteran in crisis or concerned about one, free confidential support is available 24/7, 365 days a year. You can call the Veterans Crisis Line at 1-800-273-8255 and press 1. And you don't even have to talk out loud. You can send a text message to 838255 or chat online at theveteranscrisisline.net/get-help/chat. First, we're going to talk about factors that signal a greater likelihood of suicidal behaviors. A prior suicide attempt is pretty straightforward. Mental health conditions. These can contribute to suicidal ideation and to taking steps towards suicide. So this can include PTSD and depression, a lot of the issues that come up during transition and throughout veterans' lives. Stressful life events. Divorce, job loss, death of a loved one. Again, these issues can come up any time during your life, from the day you separate to the day you retire and long after. But certainly, during transition, there are a lot of stressful life events. There's a lot of changes going on. So watch out for yourself and watch out for your friends. Availability of lethal means. This means pills, it means guns, it means whatever other means that someone might use to complete suicide. And have the Veterans Crisis Line around if you see any of these signs, so that you can use these resources for yourself, for your loved ones. So let's talk more about warning signs. Feeling hopeless, experiencing rage, uncontrolled anger, or seeking revenge, acting recklessly or engaging in risky activities. Are you doing crazy stuff? Is your friend doing crazy stuff? Are you driving like a mad person? Check in. Are you feeling trapped? Like there's no way out? Are you abusing drugs or alcohol? Withdrawing from friends or family? Having dramatic changes in mood? Feeling like there's no reason to live and no sense of purpose in life? Sleeping too much or too little? Giving away possessions? Those are all signs, warning signs of suicide. The following are imminent warning signs. Threatening to hurt or kill oneself, looking for ways to kill oneself, trying to get pills, guns, or other means to harm oneself, talking or writing about death, dying, or suicide. If you see these, get help now for yourself and for your friend. And let me stop here. We want you to always have the Veteran Crisis Line handy. But if you see an imminent warning sign, if your friend or you yourself are really on the edge, go to the nearest hospital or call 911. If, on the other hand, you have time, it's building, then call the Veterans Crisis Line at 1-800-273-8255 and press 1. And again, You don't have to talk. There are a lot of myths about suicide that really get in the way of us helping one another and helping ourselves. Talking about suicide is very taboo in our culture. Whether it's talking to someone who is considering suicide, whether it's talking about a friend who completed suicide, it's a subject that we're not comfortable with. And because of that, information that's not true gets filtered throughout our society, and it really gets in the way of us helping each other. So first of all, the idea that asking about suicide will result in suicidal ideation. It's wrong. Discussing suicide is an opportunity to share your feelings, to build a support system, and improve your mental health and well-being. Another myth. There are talkers and there are doers. If someone talks about completing suicide, they're not going to do it. If they're going to do it, they're not going to talk about it. It's rather odd. Most people who die by suicide, though, have talked about a desire to kill themselves. So listen to your friends, and know whether it's yourself or your friend or your loved one, your husband, your child, talking about suicide provides an opportunity to intervene and reduce that risk. It's an opportunity to heal. Next, if someone you know really wants to die by suicide, there's nothing you can do about it. They'll just do it. No, most suicidal thoughts are linked to another underlying mental health condition. Conditions that are extremely treatable, like depression, like anxiety, like PTSD. Throughout these modules on the CalTAP website, you'll find ways to get help, to get access to mental health treatment, whether it's at the VA or in the community. So take them up on it. It's very treatable. Suicide, though, is a permanent, quote, solution to a temporary problem. And it's not a solution at all. It's an ending. So intervene, get in there and help. Another myth. He, she, they really wouldn't complete suicide because he just made vacation plans. She has young children. They just bought a house. She knows she's loved. Wrong. Suicidal ideation can overwhelm anyone, including the most rational person. And turning to suicidal acts in order to attempt or complete suicide can also happen at any moment, even when someone has just bought that house, even when someone knows they're loved, even when someone's made those vacation plans. If you know someone who's experiencing suicidal thoughts, take it seriously. Get help. So now we're going to talk about protective factors. Now, these are effective ways to prevent suicide, but they're not something that's going to work overnight. This is something to build up for yourself and your peers. You can start today, but this is something you want to add to your whole life and to your community and to the lives of your friends and loved ones. There's more information on the documents that accompany this module, but we're going to go over it kind of quickly. Family, friends, social support, and close relationships. Seems really obvious. But when we talked before about some of the warning signs about someone withdrawing from family and friends and isolating themselves, if you recognize that in yourself or in your loved one, you want to build up those social supports. It means leaving the house when you'd rather just stay home. It means picking up the phone. It means creating patterns for yourself in your life where you're going to be exposed to your friends and your family. And then all those relationships will start to build. You can also build this up for your friends. Call them, go visit them. Set up activities to build up those close relationships. Positive coping and problem-solving skills. These are wellness techniques, things like breathing, closing your eyes, taking it down a notch. It can also mean adding things to your daily routine that help you cope and problem solve. It can include physical activity. Go for a run. Do some yoga. Ongoing physical and mental health treatment services. There's lots of information on the CalTAP website about how to access physical and mental health treatment services, searchable databases, ask friends, ask people in your community, but go out and get that treatment. Another protective factor is having a sense of purpose and hopefulness. Now, this can be difficult during transition when having that purpose of being in the military, having a mission, having a role was very clear. And during transition, you're reimagining your purpose. But think about it, and think about it with your friends, and instill a purpose in your friends and in yourself. You know how gratifying it is to have that sense of purpose, and you can have it in your own life. You can create it in your own life. Another protective factor, talking about feelings, emotions, and thoughts. Now, you should always be doing this because what this does is it builds up those relationships. It helps you define that feeling of purpose in your life, those feelings of connection, those feelings of hopefulness. But when we're talking about it in the context of suicide, I want to stop here a little bit. If you have a friend, a loved one, a mother, daughter, sister, brother, buddy, who you're worried about, you think they might be thinking about killing themselves, how do you broach that subject? This is not something that we're taught on a regular basis. It's really uncomfortable. It's really scary. First, remember that myth. If you talk about it, they will do it. That is wrong. Secondly, you need to talk to that friend. Just talk to them. Ask the question, are you thinking about hurting yourself? Do you think about hurting yourself? Are you thinking about killing yourself? Have you thought about killing yourself? Do you have a plan? You're going to be gauging in this conversation how serious it is. If it's really, really serious and that person is in crisis, go with them to a medical center, call 911, stay with them, do not leave them alone. If you feel that it's safe, talk to them further. Talk about removing any means that they might have in their possession or handy or nearby that they could use to complete suicide. Do they have pills? Do they have a gun? They want to lock that up. They want to turn those pills in. Do they want to give it to you? Give you the pills so that they're not around. Talk to them. When you're talking to them, actively listen to what they're saying. Repeat things back to them so that you both know you're on the same page. And again, if it's serious, if they're in crisis, call 911, stay with them. So reach out and get help for yourself, for your friends, for your loved ones. Call the Veterans Crisis Line, 1-800-273-8255 and press 1. And remember, you don't even have to talk out loud. You can text a message to 838-255. You can chat online. Sometimes that can be a lot easier to start the conversation in that way. So do it. You can also search for local support resources by entering your zip code at the Suicide Prevention Coordinator site, veterancrisisline.net/gethelp/local-resources. Put in your zip code, you'll find resources right nearby. Or for a friend. And remember, if you're having a mental health emergency, Go to the nearest hospital or emergency room or call 911. No matter what you're experiencing, there's support for getting your life back on track and for helping your friends. So thank you again. And remember, there's a lot more information at the CalTAP website. Information on how to talk to friends, how to talk to children, how to talk to loved ones about these really sensitive issues. But also remember that we can prevent suicide.